But I think the most interesting thing about this is an extreme and a highly visible example of how we are being lied to by the media all the time. And this has got to wake people up now, because so many people have been told Biden's fine, he's whatever. But we saw in that interview, they described as a car crash interview, we saw a clearly senile man, a man with dementia, thrust into a horrific situation, trying to, under a spotlight, clearly confused, bewildered, rambling or whatever. But literally the day before, we had the mainstream media in America and in the UK saying he's fine and Trump's a bastard or whatever it might be. This, along with things like COVID, we are being lied to constantly, aren't we, by the media, by the institutions, by our governments. And this is an extreme example.
We've always been lied to, all the way down to when we lived in tribes. People in power and people trying to gain power will always lie. It's how they control people. Sometimes they lie for good, sometimes they lie for bad. So a good lie would be, let's not tell the people that this meteor is going to strike the earth and millions are going to die. There's nothing you can do about it, we'll just worry them. You could see that would be a good lie. A bad lie is, our president is fully fit and he's going to be fantastic, and that's a bad lie because he's not. And you're damaging the individual because he's getting worse because of the pressure he's being put under. We've always been lied to. And the vast majority of people, 80% of people, are quite happy with it. Either don't see the lie or forget the lie within minutes, and just want to be protected and just want someone to govern. Because we're a tribal creature. It's only certain individuals like me, like you, like other people, who are always a small percentage of people who are pushing for the truth. We're the sort of people who will explore new lands and take new chances and be the inventors and the businessmen. Most people aren't. Most people are just happy going along, plod, 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 their normal day. So things won't change.
It's a big lie, this, though, isn't it? Because I'll give you an example of another for various reasons, but this is a big lie because this lie that the media are colluding in, certainly in America, is exposing America because they do not have a competent leader at the moment. And I'm sure Putin and all these other guys know it anyway, but now it's visible that America does not have a mentally capable leader, and that means America is exposed. It has to be.
America's enemies already knew this. That's why we have the Ukraine war. That's why we have Iran kicking off and Hamas kicking off and China saber rattling.
Yeah.
And the Afghanistan debacle. The enemies know all this already.
Yeah, we can do what the hell we want.
Yeah. So none of this is a surprise. But how they'll spin it, and they started spinning it already. He had a cold, he wasn't well that day. But it's gone beyond that. Lots of people.
No, I don't think that.
Yeah, it's gone beyond that.
No, they're exposed now. They tried to rig it.
Yeah.
So that he would. They coached him for a week at Camp David, which is unbelievably a long time. But you can't. I mean,
you can't coach that.
I've had senile members in the family before. You can't. You can see it. You can't coach somebody who's senile. They have brain damage. It's impossible to do that. So they tried to do it, and I think they were hoping to get away with it.
Yeah.
Now they're saying it's now they plan to do this so they could get an alternative Democratic candidate.
They were hoping to get away with it.
Yeah.
They were hoping to get away with it. But all this comes down to Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
We cannot afford to lose this election because Trump is going to be a bulldozer.
Yeah.
Trump is going to hold us all accountable.
Yeah.
There'll be no controlling him for 4 years. He's going to wreck everything we've built up, which is our elite status, us skimming off the top, all our woke nonsense. So they made Biden stand on that stage out of desperation, out of pure desperation.
And I think you made a very good point. There's so many facets to this issue, aren't there, in terms of what's happened here. But you made a really good point either last week or the week before, which was that this is elder abuse. And by virtue of forcing this clearly ill man to do these things, you are shortening his life, his enjoyment of life, his treatment, because he needs to be treated for this illness now. And there are treatments for people like him, so they can live a more pleasant life. But you're actually shortening his life, his enjoyment of life, his life expectancy as a result of this. And his wife is in the middle of all this, isn't she?
She's complicit.
Yes.
She's complicit. Let me answer it this way. You're an employer.
Yes.
If you had an employee who you know, and it's on his medical record, he's got a bad back, and you told him he needs to move all these desks to the next room, would you say that to him?
No.
Why?
Well, for two reasons. Firstly, I don't want to exacerbate his back injury. And the second thing is the company will then have a liability.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that.
And that's what the Republican Party are doing to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They know they're damaging him. They know his mental state. And they are abusing him more and more and more out of convenience and out of favour of Trump. Can you claim that he works for the Republican Party? Probably not. But it is.
Were you expecting me to say I'd make him move the desk by the way?
No. No. That's the answer I knew I'd do.
Right,
because you've got a duty care for your member of staff.
Yeah.
And above that, you don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
If you didn't know he had a bad back and he hurts his back, it's like, well, I don't know that. But if it's on his company record, he has a bad back, you're like, you're not moving anything, mate.
Yeah.
Because you're a nice person, because you don't want to get sued on top of that.
Yeah.
But they're not looking after him.
Yeah. I've actually got a funny story about that. My son came to work in one of the businesses and he was working on the shop floor and he got a swelling on his inguinal ligament here and when I was younger I got a hernia and I said, oh, I think that's a hernia. So you can't. So as a result of that, he was meant to be helping another guy to move a whole bunch of stuff. And I scared him. I said, look, this is, blah, blah. He was really worried, my son. I won't mention which son it was. Anyway, as a result, this guy had to move all this stuff on his own, and he absolutely knackered his back. He was in absolute agony.
Yeah.
Anyway, about 2 days later, my son went to the doctors to get checked out, and it disappeared. It was, there wasn't anything wrong with it.
You wouldn't take the chance because you don't know that. You don't know that. Don't take a chance.
But my son is young and incredibly fit and strong. And this old guy ended up having to do it all himself. Anyway, that was another story. So I think the reform canvasser and the Biden thing kind of just really, for me, illustrate this media snowstorm that they throw over us all the time, basically. And
my big worry is for Trump is they manage to get him in jail, and if they get him in jail, he won't be coming out alive.
Yes. Although today the Supreme Court did, or was it today or yesterday, the Supreme Court said that he cannot be prosecuted for anything that he did whilst he was president.
Yeah.
So I think whilst that Stormy Daniels thing is still good, and just for the benefit of our viewers, if there's a case of any lack of clarity, if I was in America, I would vote for Trump, and I'm going to vote reform as well, by the way, just to let you know. Sorry, which isn't against you, by the way, Nick. I know you're in it.
If you lived in my area...
If I lived in Oldham, East and Saddleworth, I would be voting for reform. Nick Buckley.
Did you like that video? I think you did. Hit the bell, give it a big thumbs up, comment, and don't forget, I'm standing for election in Oldham, East and Saddleworth. So please share this video, speak to your family and friends if you live in Greater Manchester, and if you live in Oldham, East and Saddleworth, make sure you vote for me. Catch you soon.